What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Miami Dolphins roster preview. As you guys know, the Miami Dolphins play at the time of the recording of this video in 3 hours against the New York Giants in the first preseason game of the year. So I thought I would do a preview of the preseason roster. I will do one before the first game of the regular season so you guys can have a regular season preview. But let's get right into this. I don't think this video should be too long, but it might be. You never know. It did take me a while to get every single picture that is in this video, but we're going to get right to it. So the 4 quarterbacks on the Miami Dolphins roster consist of Ryan Tannehill, Matt Moore, Brandon Doughty, and Zach Dysert. The obvious starting quarterback in Ryan Tannehill and the obvious backup in Matt Moore. But it'll be interesting to see who they keep in Brandon Doughty and Zach Dysert. They do like Brandon Doughty a lot, and they did draft him in this year's draft. But you could also make the case for whoever plays better between Brandon Doughty and Matt Moore, in my opinion, to who can get that second string quarterback nod. So we'll really have to see there. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill is a starting quarterback. Shouldn't really be a position battle here besides the Matt Moore, Brandon Doughty, Zach Dysert situation there from quarterback 2 to 4. The running back situation consists of Jay Ajayi, Arian Foster, Damian Williams, Daniel Thomas, Isaiah Peed, and Kenyon Drake. There is no fullback currently on the roster. Jay Ajayi is the starter for right now. Then we have Arian Foster, Damian Williams, Daniel Thomas, Isaiah Peed, and Kenyon Drake down there at the bottom. I would think that at the beginning of the year, start a regular season, that Arian Foster will get the nod in the first game against the Seahawks. We really have to see what happens in preseason. If you ask me who I think makes a roster out of these 6 backs, I would say it's going to be Ajayi, Foster, and Kenyon Drake, and maybe Damian Williams. But we'll really have to see who performs in preseason. I'm really looking forward to the game tonight. One of the things that I've been waiting for forever is football. Now to get into the tight end situation, we have Jordan Cameron, Deion Sim, Marquise Gray, Dominique Jones, Thomas Duarte, and Gabe Hughes. Now, honestly, I'll be 100% honest. I have no idea who Gabe Hughes is. Dominique Jones, not really, and Marquise Gray, I do have a little bit of a knowledge on. This obviously is Jordan Cameron's position. Now, the interesting thing for you guys to look out for the tight end position would be the battle from Deion Sims, Marquise Gray, and Thomas Duarte, in my opinion, personal opinion, for who will get the backup tight end and then third tight end spot, because obviously we can only have 2 to 3 tight ends on the roster when you really think about it. And I just personally think that that's the way it's just going to end up going. I think obvious starting tight end is going to be Jordan Cameron. Backup will be Thomas Duarte, and then it'll be Deion Sims. And I think Marquise Gray will make the roster as well. Now to get into the wide receivers, one of my favorite positions right now on the Dolphins roster. And so far, we have Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Leonte Carroo, Griff Whalen, Matt Hazel, Rashawn Scott, AJ Cruz, Jakeem Grant, and Brandon Shippen. Now, the obvious starters are Devontae Parker, Jarvis, and Kenny Stills. I think that's going to go Devontae is going to be the 1, Jarvis at the 2, and Kenny Stills at the slot. Now, I say Jarvis at the 2 because I feel like that's where they're going to play him at. You never know. They might put Devontae Parker at the 1. Then we have Leonte Carroo, Griff Whalen, and Matt Hazel. We haven't heard a lot from Griff Whalen or Leonte Carroo really coming out of training camp. But out of what I've heard a little bit is that Matt Hazel has been showing a lot more production. Matt Hazel has, in my opinion, always been a productive guy for the Miami Dolphins. So we'll really just have to see what happens. But I think he will make the roster. And then it comes to Rashawn Scott, AJ Cruz, Jakeem Grant, and Brandon Shippen. AJ Cruz has been showing some flashes here and there. Brandon Shippen, never heard of him, and Rashawn Scott, never heard of him. And then Jakeem Grant's going to be an obvious guy to make the roster. What I think is going to happen is going to be Devontae, Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Leonte Carroo, Griff Whalen, Matt Hazel, and Jakeem Grant. I think they'll go into the season with 7 wide receivers, and that's how I feel like it's going to end up stacking up. Now we go to the offensive line, a major problem in the past years for the Miami Dolphins. At left tackle, we have Brandon Albert and Vincent Painter. I think those 2 guys will stay there. I don't think they're going to pick up another left tackle, and you always want to have a backup. At left guard, it's going to be Dallas Thomas, Laramie Tunsil, and Jaquise McClendon. I think that it'll end up being Dallas Thomas and Laramie Tunsil. I don't think Jaquise McClendon is going to make the roster, and I think day 1 against the Seahawks, Laramie Tunsil is going to be your starter. At the center position, we have Mike Pouncey, Anthony Steen, and Jamil Douglas at right guard / center. I think that it's going to end up being Mike Pouncey and Anthony Steen. I think Jamil Douglas is either going to get traded or released sometime during the preseason, just because we drafted him last year, but I don't feel like they did a great, or he's not really showing what he can do. You never know, they might give him a chance, but at the end of the day, sometimes things just don't work out for certain players. At right guard, we have Billy Turner, Jermon Bushrod, Craig Ubrick, and Ruben Carter. Billy Turner and Jermon Bushrod, I think, are going to be the main guys. I think Craig Ubrick could make the roster. I think Ruben Carter, unless he has some flashes during the preseason, I don't think he'll be able to make it. And remember, there always is the first round of cuts that comes after today's game. At right tackle, we have Jawan James, Ulrich John, and Sam Young. I think Jawan James will be the obvious starter, and I think Ulrich John and Sam Young are going to battle it out for that backup right tackle position. I think that Sam Young could win it, but we really are never going to know what's going to happen until we see some people play on the field. Now we get to go to the defensive side. One of my favorite things to talk about right now for the Dolphins, besides wide receiver, because it's just so many position battles that you can actually look at. Not for starting jobs necessarily, but for backup jobs. So we have at left end, we have Cameron Wake, Andre Branch, Terrence Fadday, Jordan Williams, and Clayton Lang. Cameron Wake and Andre Branch, I feel like, are going to be guys that you really are going to keep no matter what. And then I think it gets interesting when it gets to Terrence Fadday, Jordan Williams, and Clayton Lang. I feel like Cameron Wake and Andre Branch, like I said, are going to be the two starters, starter backup. They're going to be switching off. Andre Branch will obviously start today since Cameron Wake, Sue, and Mario Williams have the day off tonight. So we'll really get to see the flashes from really Branch, Fadday, Williams, and Lang. I think that it's going to end up being Fadday that makes the roster, and I think Williams and Lang aren't going to make it at that left end position. Defensive tackle, we have Ndamukong Suh and Earl Mitchell. Those are your obvious starters there. And then you have Chris Jones, Jordan Phillips, Julius Wormsley, and DeAndre Coleman as your backups. I feel like it's going to be Ndamukong Suh, Earl Mitchell, and Jordan Phillips. Those are going to be your three guys. And I think they might keep another one depending on how Chris Jones, Julius Wormsley, and DeAndre Coleman can perform during the preseason. We'll get to see them tonight. So once again, keep your eyes on those guys. At right end, we have Mario Williams, Jason Jones, Chris McCain, and Farrington Hugan. I think that's how you say his name. And then we also have Dion Jordan. So Mario Williams, Jason Jones, Chris McCain. Those guys are three guys I know are going to definitely make the roster. And then I feel like Dion Jordan will also make the roster, but we're really not going to have a place to put him at. But I do think that Mario Williams, Jason Jones, Chris McCain, and Dion Jordan, I think they're definitely going to make it. Haven't seen or heard much out of Farrington Hugan, so we'll have to see how he plays tonight, and just really want to see how he plays tonight, because you never know, today could be his only game for the Miami Dolphins. Mario Williams isn't playing, so we're going to get to see flashes of everybody. I don't believe that Dion Jordan is playing tonight. I think he's still on the active/injured list, so we'll have to see what happens there. But I think it'll be Mario Williams, Jason Jones, Chris McCain, and Dion Jordan. I think we'll go in with 4 right ends. Linebacker, we have Koamisi, Kiko Alonso, Jelani Jenkins, Spencer Pace-Singer, James Michael Johnson, Neville Hewitt, Tyler Gray, and Mike Hull. We released Danny Lansana. That's why I'm not going to mention him too much. Akil Blunt, James Burgess. Those are your guys. We released Danny Lansana after signing him. That's why they're not going to see a picture or anything really about him. But I thought I should mention that he was on the roster a couple days ago. Starters will obviously be Koamisi, Kiko Alonso, Jelani Jenkins. Then I think it gets very interesting because we've seen good special teams out of Spencer Pace-Singer, so I'm not really going to include him. I think he's definitely going to make the roster. We saw flashes out of Neville Hewitt last year and Mike Hull. And really, I think that it's just going to be Kiko Alonso, Koamisi, Jelani Jenkins, Spencer Pace-Singer, Neville Hewitt, and Mike Hull as guaranteed. I think it's going to be interesting to see James Michael Johnson, Tyler Gray, and Akil Blunt, and James Burgess really fight for those remaining positions. So we'll have to see how it goes in preseason. But once again, those are guys that you should definitely look out for tonight's game and really the games after. A lot of these guys, tonight's game could be the only game that they have to prove their stuff. So you really have to take a look and see those guys on the field. At cornerback, we have Byron Maxwell, Tony Lippett, Bobby McCain, Chimdi Chekwat. Ifo Akere-Olumu was released after tearing his ACL. And then we have Jordan Lucas, and we signed Chris Culliver recently. So, Byron Maxwell, Tony Lippett, Bobby McCain. I feel like those guys are the 3 definites, and Chris Culliver. We'll just have to see what happens with Chris Culliver. Jordan Lucas, I've heard not a lot of good things about Jordan Lucas coming out of camp. I think not a lot of people have really talked great about him. So we'll really have to see there. And 3 people I forgot to mention, totally my bad, are Rashawn Melvin, Layette Pitts, and Brandon Harris. What I think it's going to end up being is Byron Maxwell, Tony Lippett, Bobby McCain, Chimdi Chekwa, Brandon Harris, and Chris Culliver. I think those will be the 6 CBs they go in with. And I think they will release the rest of them. But in case you want to see any battles, Layette Pitts, Rashawn Melvin, Jordan Lucas, those are guys you should be looking for tonight and see how they perform. At safety, we have Issa Abdul-Quddus, Rashad Jones, Michael Thomas, Walt Aikens, Shamil Gray, and A.J. Hendy. Now, I feel like Issa Abdul-Quddus is going to be a steal for the Miami Dolphins. I've said it before, and I'm still going to continue saying that. Rashad Jones plays at a Pro Bowl level no matter what. Michael Thomas and Walt Aikens are definites on this roster, and I feel like it's going to be, well, really Michael Thomas is a definite. It'll be interesting to see Walt Aikens, Shamil Gray, and A.J. Hendy and see how they play. Guys, that's really it for the Miami Dolphins preview. Kicker, we all know it's going to be Andrew Franks and Matt Dar, who are going to be the definites, so I'm not even going to mention them too much. Guys, I know this was a little bit of a quick video, but I didn't really have much to go into on the rosters. What I could tell you right now is we'll do a quick sweep through the roster one more time. We have quarterback. Your players to look out for tonight's game against the Giants and in preseason at quarterback is Brandon Doughty and Zach Dysert. At running back, the people you should look forward to seeing and the guys you should keep your eye on are Daniel Thomas and Isaiah Peed. At tight end, the guys you should keep your eye on during preseason for the Miami Dolphins are Marquise Gray, Thomas Duarte, and Deion Sims. At wide receiver, the guys you should keep your eye on are Leonte Carew, Matt Hazel, and Jakeem Grant. Now we go to defense. At defensive end, the guys you should look forward to at the left end position are Terrence Fede and Clayton Lang. At defensive tackle, you should look at Jordan Phillips and DeAndre Coleman. At the right end position, you should look at Mario Williams, Jason Jones, Chris McCain, and Deion Jordan. At linebacker, you should be looking at Spencer Pasinger, Neville Hewitt, Mike Hull, Akil Blunt, Tyler Gray, and James Michael Johnson. At corner, you should be looking at Byron Maxwell, Tony Lippett, Bobby McCain, Chimdi Chekwa, and Brandon Harris, as well as Chris Culver when he comes back. And then at safety, the guys you should look at are Walt Aikens, Shamil Gray, and A.J. Hendy. Guys, I hope you liked the video. I will be doing a video coming out a little bit later talking about the NFL's Miami Dolphins season preview, which I said was complete bullshit. I'm going to take the things that they had, which are like season MVP, stuff like that, and I'm going to do my own version of it. It should be out before the preseason game. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, slap a like on the video and subscribe if you are new. I do football content, mainly Miami Dolphins, and I also do basketball content, which is also mainly Miami Heat. Guys, that'll be all for me. Peace.